did y'all know that 82% of people are more likely to trust someone who's open and transparent? Because they feel like that if you're being honest and straightforward, then they are more likely to accept any advice that you would give them, even if it's hard to hear advice, right? So you know what that means to me? That let me know. All y'all really want is for somebody to tell y'all their business first. And once they tell you their business, and so therefore you understand that they understand, you accept their advice. So I'll tell y'all my business. I had to think about it real quick, but I'll go ahead and tell y'all my business. But on one condition, when I roll back in with the advice and the suggestions for the hard topics and the hard subjects to get us to progress in our life in ways that we need to make a shift and change and stop being stagnant and stop letting those things hold us back. Remember this. Remember this. I told you my business first. I want you to trust me. I want you to understand that I'm here for you, that I want only better for you, that I'm not here to make up a story here. Like, I'm being vulnerable. It's not easy to tell everybody your business, right? For them to judge and scrutinize you, right? Okay, so I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for you. So you can do me a favor when it's time to come back around, right? Okay, don't leave me hanging out here. Make sure you return the favor. Okay, so that's what I make episode 2 all about, telling you my story, my business, all the things about the places God make me, right? You can understand that when I'm telling you this stuff, I ain't telling you what sound good. I ain't telling you what I'm telling. Like, I ain't up here talking about some do as I say, not as I do. No, baby, I had to do it. I had to live it. It was a little sketchy. So yeah, when I tell you this information or when I tell you my business, I mean it. Okay, I mean it. I mean it. I mean it. I'm not playing. I'm not joking. This is not a drill. I'm for real. Okay, so to start off episode 2, for anybody who does not know me, I am K Simone from Shifting Your Atmosphere, where we aspire to help millennial women who've lost themselves shift from their current mindset, aka their atmosphere, to the one that God has for them, through teaching them how to show up for themselves every single day. And then let God do the rest, okay? Because everything we can't take care of, everything we can't handle, some stuff we gotta just give it to God. But we can do our part. And so I'm here to help you and any millennial woman do their part. Now, when it comes to telling my story, it was hard for me to figure out where to start, right? Because I'm like, what do they care about? What's relevant? What parts of me really, really matter to them to get them to understand that I'm open, I'm transparent, I'm here to help them, right? Because I'm sure y'all don't care about that time that I fell off my bike trying to ride outside and show my mama that I could do it without training wheels and like hit every knee, hit every elbow, scraped up the side of my face. Like y'all don't care about that, right? It's not relevant to y'all. Not the people that here for the right reasons anyway, right? But it is relevant. The stories that are relevant are the ones like where I really, really contemplated life on whether it was worth living or not. Like before I had kids, since I've had kids, like there were really, really, really hard times and a lot of traumatic experiences that I experienced. Some at my own hand, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Some I got myself into, some with cards I was just dealt. But either way, there were a lot of things that shaped and molded me into the person that I am today. The person that can sit in front of you, still growing, and had to accept the fact that God took away my shame. So I don't have anything to be ashamed of. To be able to sit in front of you and tell you this stuff, right? So, in case someone, my name is Key. Y'all don't need my real name, but my name is Key, aka K Simone. I'm a boy mom of 2 little busybodies whose birthdays are 3 weeks apart. So your girl be going through it when it's birthday season because God, you thought that was funny, didn't you? Thought that was funny to make their birthdays 3 weeks apart so that I could stress and struggle to make them both feel special on their own birthdays because now they have a lot of personality, a lot of attitude. So yeah, it is difficult being boy mom of 2. Any of you boy moms out there with more than 1 kid, I understand the struggle, okay? But they are the joy of my life. I never thought I would have kids, but I wouldn't see my life any other way now. And I think that's heavily because of the influences that were really, really big for me as a kid. My grandparents being one of the biggest influences on my life, everything about how I parent my children, how I cook for them, how I wake up for them, how I do everything in making a home. That's all contributions of my grandmother being so influential in my life. Now, the joking, the side eyes, All that's my grandpa. I love him to death, but one thing he gonna do is test you, try you, poke you, and he says if he don't love you for real. So I guess he love me real bad because he get at me every chance he get. But those 2 people are one of my biggest influences in my life, and throughout my childhood, another one of the biggest influences was how much I moved. I was always the new girl in the classroom. It didn't matter where we were going, what we were doing, what school I was in, what state we lived in, what grade I was in. We was always moving. We was moving everywhere, right? So I was always the new kid, so they always wanna know, "Who is she? Where she come from? Who are her parents? Why is she here?" Like, they want to know everything about my business. And that's why probably how I'm prepared to sit on here and tell y'all my business because some kids prepared me because kids are ruthless. Just let you know. They say anything they think about with no filters. So yeah, I'm prepared because I was always a new kid, but it also instilled a lot of good qualities in me, like adaptability. I am very, very quick to adjust and still thrive in a lot of environments because I'm so used to adapting because of all the different schools I went to. I went to 3 different high schools, right? So between middle school and high school, every time I switched school, I just tried something different. Like, so I was a part of so many things. Like, I was a part of marching band. I was a part of color guard dancing in front of the band. I was a part of indoor dance recitals. I was a part of track and field. Baby, I was in the choir. Baby, if they had it, I tried it. Cause why not? They don't know me no way. They don't know I ain't no played soccer or volleyball before. They don't know that. But I'm gonna get on here. I'm gonna figure it out. But one thing I did have to let my parents know was, baby, on that third high school, if y'all finna pack us up and move us again, just sign me up for the GED. But even throughout the experiences of adjusting in high school, I was still always the oldest child. So I was very, very responsible. I had to help with my siblings a lot because my parents worked a lot. So I was cooking, I was helping with homework, I was, babysitting. I was doing all those things. And then beyond just helping care for my siblings, I was at the cook with the family, right? I was a person to diffuse everything. I was a person to remember everything. I was a person to help fix everything. I was the go-to person in our family, right? So when we got up to high school age, my father actually was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. That was influential. That was influential. And not just because he was sick, but because of the entirety of the experience. I was one of the first people to really notice the changes in behaviors that were actually indicators that something was wrong with him. We'd be in mid conversation like we talking right now, and literally in 2 seconds he would be asleep. I'm like, Charlie, what are you doing? Like, I'm joking. I'm taking pictures of him. I'm doing all these things. Indirectly, I'm documenting his symptoms, right? They ended up taking all the information from me to kind of see the timeline of the progression of the things that were going on with him. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but that's just what that was kind of how me and my dad's relationship was. Like, we joked a lot, and he would try to catch me slipping, so I would catch him slipping. I thought that's all we had going on, but really, he was sick. And as I think about it, he was sick majority of my life on and off, but at this point, we finally had like a true, true diagnosis, and the diagnosis was not light. It was not easy. It was, hey, look, this cancer is so bad at this point that it's terminal. We don't have any suggestion. We don't have any help for you. We're giving him only a few days that he's going to make it and survive because even if we try to attempt treatment, it's going to be so harsh on him in the condition that he's currently in that you might as well just, it's going to deteriorate him anyway. So it's terminal either way, whether we try to help him or we don't. He was able to live an additional 7 years by the grace of God. It was a very, very difficult time for me throughout all of those years simply because of 2 words. 2 words, y'all. They ring so true to me even today. I don't even know if I love the words anymore. And the 2 words are be strong. Think about that as a middle schooler, as a high schooler, as a child. Always hearing be strong. I'm supposed to be playing. Be strong. Be strong for your mom. Be strong for your sisters. Be strong for your father. Be strong in front of other people. Be strong to help out in your family. Be strong to not make anything worse than this. Be strong to have a sick parent and still go to school. Be strong to watch your parent health decline ultimately. You never know when it was gonna be good, when it's gonna be bad, when it was in remission, when he was gonna have a good day, a bad day, when you're gonna be taken to the hospital and push him in a wheelchair, when he's gonna be up singing and hollering around the house playing music at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. You really didn't know exactly what you were gonna experience. But the two words that were always told to me by family, friends, adults, anybody, be strong. So the reason that was so influential on my life was because it led me into so many things in college where I felt like I was away from that. And I took a mile. I took a mile. I probably took 3 or 4 miles. The inch was entry into college, and I probably took several miles, right? That led to a lot of alcohol, that led to a lot of promiscuity, that led to a lot of things that, pile on top of what I'm already feeling, what I've already suppressed, what I've already never dealt with. I don't think it was somewhere into once I stopped drinking because I got alcohol poisoning, y'all. And as a college student with alcohol poisoning, and you cannot call your parents to get the insurance information to go to the doctor, you had to just suffer through the alcohol poisoning. And to make matters worse, everybody thought I was pregnant. I was not pregnant. I just was irresponsible with alcohol, okay? Okay. But either way, it wasn't until I had pressed that envelope for so long, trying to cope and mask and pretty much just rebel against all the responsibility that I had to have my entire life prior, that I ended up having an emotional overload. So all the years I didn't cry, all the years I was strong, all the years I didn't get, therapy for a terminally ill parent, all those years that I didn't feel nurturing, not because my mother didn't love me, but nurturing's just not her thing. She's a nurse. She gonna save your life. But hug and cuddle you when you need a hug, that just wasn't her thing. So in all these years, I'm pouring out what I don't even understand. I'm trying to nurture my siblings. I'm trying to help my parents, trying to help my mom be strong. I'm trying to help my dad just be taken care of physically. We were his care providers within our home. So as a high schooler, bathing your father, watching him figure all that out, that did a lot to my mental space. Then go to college, alcohol is readily available. I never saw my parents drink, so I don't know if they drunk or they didn't drink, but they ain't never let me know they drunk if they did. So alcohol was such a different experience than when I went to college, and it swallowed me up and spit it right back out. And once it spit me out, I was bursting at the seams with emotions. I could not hold myself together. It's like everything was affecting me. I was finally emotional and it was too much, right? So, in that, I've never been able to still, as I was in college, really take the time to even deal with the emotions burst, but I still didn't have time. I'm a college student trying to maintain scholarships. I transferred schools to go from a university to an art school. And in that, I needed to work full time. I was a full time store manager, working 60 hours in another city, still trying to be a full time student. I was overloaded and trying to maintain a relationship that I didn't want to fall apart at the time. I was trying to hang on to so there was no time to ever process any type of emotion. And somewhere the emotions say, you can't hide from us anymore. I don't care what you tell me. I don't care what you're doing. You can't hide from us anymore. And if I could pinpoint what they say, the feathers that broke the camel back, something like that. Something like that. If y'all know what it is for real and I got it wrong, just put it in the comments so I can know, so I can use it right. But anyway, I think that the pivotal shifting point that just like sent me downhill was finding out that the father that raised me was not my biological father. And I actually was adopted. I know a lot of people are going to presume that finding out that he wasn't my father was the issue. That really wasn't the issue. I still called him dad. I still talk to you guys about him. Like everything that I've told you, if you haven't seen episode 1, about how his influence heavily even pushed into what God ended up wanting for me and my purpose. It was never going to work if I was raised by my biological father and not my dad for me to walk into the purpose that God had for me. He knows our plans even before we were born. So he already knew you're going to be born from this parent, but who's going to raise you is what's going to plant the seed. It's going to lead you to where I want you to be later on in life. So I was never upset about the fact that he wasn't actually my dad. Maybe the fact that they didn't tell us, Shawty, probably because there was other opportunities within my they could have told me. But it was more so the turmoil, the follow part, like the experience around finding out. there was a lot that occurred during that time of me finding that out. The stress of the phone calls, the stress of the new information, the stress of the story unfolding day by day by day by day from every direction, still trying to be all those things that I just told y'all. Like, I just couldn't take it no more. I couldn't take it anymore. And that led me down a path of depression. The first time I had ever been depressed in a way that I could truly recognize it, I didn't leave my house. I stopped going to school. I stopped going to work. I stopped turning lights on. I was depressed in every form of fashion to the point that I had a friend during art school. If anybody knows her, what she wasn't going for is just what she wasn't going for. So she wasn't going for me not answering the phone, not showing up, not doing any of that stuff. So she would just come bang on my door or call my phone until she could hear it ring. And then she'd be like, I know you in here. So open the door. And she'd sit there in silence with me or sit there and try to joke with me or just make sure that I was okay, even though she knew I wasn't okay, but just that like physically I hadn't harmed myself or anything because that was a heavy consideration. I just didn't feel like at the time it was worth being here. Like, what's the point? I have so much turmoil. I have so much chaos in my inside, so much chaos within my family. It feels like everything that I knew about myself is falling apart. The things that I wanted, the things that I liked, the things that I loved. I was about to achieve graduating art school, and now I don't even want to go to school. It just didn't seem like anything was okay to the point that, again, I'm telling you, every time I was faced with something, it almost seemed like I couldn't even be or sit in what I was going through. So eventually, although I was still very much depressed, I had to snap into functioning depression, right? Fully functioning. So I went back into work, went back to school, and just did the bare minimum that I had to. And then when I come home, I would still be back heavily depressed. Then I became alone. I started to live alone. I started to just be by myself all the time. And in that, trying to find outlets, I chose some bad ones. Again, the alcohol was back, promiscuity was back. That led me into some situations where I just couldn't get myself out of experiences that would scar you in a way that you wouldn't wish it on anybody. You wouldn't want them to experience that. You wouldn't want them to feel their option to choose and say no is taken away from them just because you feel women are weak or just because you feel you know what women want or just because the opportunity is there. And I put myself in that position trying to hide or run from the things that were really hurting me. And here I am again. Now I got a new thing that I'm trying to deal with, which makes me double down more. Not only was I contemplating was life not okay, but now I didn't added another star on top of the tree. And I don't even want to live anymore. Like the memories, the flashbacks, the pain, like it was overbearing to the point that I remember. If y'all ain't never seen the show 13 Reasons Why, never watch that if you are in a bad space. I watched it because it was popular. And little did I know that I was not in a position. I was contemplating being her. And then watching it on TV and watching it unfold. Yeah, I literally had to phone a friend to come sit with me that night, try to protect myself. And I'm so grateful to God that they answered the phone and that they sat with me. God really, really sent people in my life during that time to keep me alive long enough to come back to myself, like to go back to church, to go back to school, to be around people, to not be alone, to feel life was worth living. Because at that time, I didn't think that it was. I eventually did make it to my graduation, which was a great accomplishment for me because through all those hard things and all those hard times, like I literally still got my diploma. So I was very excited for that. And it was from fashion school, something I loved to death. So I was super, super excited about that. And I was so ready to jumpstart a career. I'm like, okay, Key, you've made it through high school struggles. You made it through college struggles. Got your degree, you got your diploma, you got your big girl job. You finna really go out and start your internship so that you can go off to New York and hit runways and have this full-blown fashion career that you're gonna work so hard to achieve. And guess what little old promiscuous Sally did? She got pregnant. She got pregnant. The girl that didn't want to be married, didn't want to have kids because she felt she kind of already had seen what that looked like. The examples that she saw, it wasn't worth more than trying to gain a career for myself to go out. I had already served my time. I helped with my dad and his health and him being sick. I helped with my mom, hold down her household. I helped with my siblings and all things that they needed from me at that time. I feel like I had already done my due diligence, right? And in doing my due diligence, but I need children. And again, y'all know I was just off the cusp of you thoughts, right? And I get pregnant. What am I supposed to do? Literally, I didn't even believe that the doctor was telling the truth. I went to the doctor because I was like, I think I'm sick. I think I got strep throat because I get it every year. Let me go on, give me a little medicine so I can keep pushing and go back to my job. They were like, well, you don't have strep throat. You're pregnant. I got on the phone, called my twin. I'm like, girl, they said I'm pregnant. I'm finna come to your house right now. Take me to the doctor because you've been pregnant before, right? Make sure they're not lying. They weren't lying, y'all. It was so difficult. It was so hard for me because didn't I tell you I was promiscuous? I had to sit through that entire pregnancy, contemplating whether my child was worth having because of the way I was having it, the shame or scrutiny I felt like I was going to receive, the reality of coping with the fact that you're about to do the very thing that you said you didn't want to do. So you're having to give up what you were aspiring to have. I had to leave my aspiring fashion career to not only come home to take care of my father and family again, but because I was so sick during my pregnancy that I could not hardly maintain my job. I'm giving up all these things for something I never really wanted or knew that it was going to come into my life. So this is another pivotal point where should I just give up the baby? Should I give it up for adoption? Should I have an abortion? What should I do? I was having a hard time. And of course, coming from a Christian background, a Christian household, wasn't nobody trying to hear that, but those are my real contemplating conversations to myself. I did not know what to do. Didn't really know who to talk to about it. But once I had that baby in my arms and I saw that baby, we was to this day, he has an unhealthy attachment to me. That little boy is the super lover boy. He's going to love me to death. He was brought to me to teach me and show me the love that I didn't feel. At that point, I was worthy of accepting because of all these things that I had done, all these things that I had been through. And he's loved me every day, every second. Even if I discipline him and give him a whooping. Like he gonna take a nap and come back and hug me and be like, I'm sorry, mommy. Just want you to know that I love you. If I'm crying or having a hard time, he's gonna try to do anything to just to make sure I'm okay. And I could never be more grateful to God for sending me a kid like that, especially at a time where I didn't even know how to love myself. I needed him. I needed him so much. It was so hard to be a mom. I didn't know what to do. I knew how to take care of people. I knew how to nurture people, but I didn't know how to breastfeed. I didn't know how to, how was I going to take care of my kids? I just had it. How was I going to provide for them? How was I going to do all these things? I had no idea what I was going to do. But over time, God always helped me out. God always made a way. Even when I didn't know where I was going to live. With this baby, I lived with several different people at the time just to get on my feet with the baby. And once I got on my feet, it was like me and him. We were great. We're finally in our own house. It was amazing. We were happy. I was starting to get back to myself. I was starting to work out. I was starting to achieve my fitness goals. Your girl was getting back. The postpartum was lifting up off of her, so she was ready to get back healthy, get back fit. I was getting back into church. I was getting back into I even started to end up being like leading 5 a.m. prayer calls. I was a whole missionary, y'all. Like I was leading small groups. They were called B groups at the time. I met a lot of amazing women. A few of them I'm still friends with now. I was doing everything that I felt like I should do. I was, growing. I was challenging myself to be better. I was learning to tame my mouth. I was learning to be patient. I was learning all these things, right? And of course, life is still life, and I still got one kid. I'm still, figuring all these other things out. As soon as I felt like I was getting my groove, getting my rhythm back, things weren't perfect. As soon as I was getting that back, what happened? My dad dies in 2020. COVID, we stuck in the house. All these things start going on again. I'm like, girl, we was just getting it together. Now here we are again, right? And in that, although I wasn't upset about grieving my father at the time, because of course I gotta be a mom. Literally leave the hospital, go pick up your kid. There was no pausing and break. I didn't actually processing my father dying at all for years. But it was still a time where, oh my God, what's going on? God, where you at? What's going on? I've been doing all this stuff for you. I've been trying to live right. I've been trying to be abstinent. I've been doing all these things. Where are you? There's just more things going on, more things being added to my plate. I'm trying to, carry a household. And I'm very, very grateful for you blessing me in a way to be a blessing to others in times of need that we all never knew that were going to occur. However, what's going on? Is it not true that if you live for God or if you change over your life, if you make better choices and better decisions, things are going to start to lift up and be easier? They teach us hard work pays off, right? So wouldn't that correlate to God? If my hard work is in bettering myself according to his word, when it starts to pay off, what's keeping me afloat? Why are these things going on? So what did I do? I did what a lot of people tend to do. I went back on my word and my promises to God, right? And I started to fall back into the very things that I was away from. Because at this point, I felt like, what was the point of staying away from certain things that were difficult or hard if it wasn't going to pan out to produce anything? So the alcohol came back, the promiscuity came back. It was hard for me to not revert back to those things, right? Whenever I felt I could deal with other things and all of my positive efforts towards God weren't panning out the way that I thought they should, I reverted right on back. And you know what happened again to her, shawty? She got pregnant again. Still doesn't. Pregnant again. You already manned up the first time, shawty. Why would you do this again? I felt 100 times more shame this time. It's one thing to do something that nobody know about. It's another thing to do something. Act like you ain't doing what you're doing. And then the proof shows up. Yeah, so we hit a 360, right? About 3 years later. Yeah, we've hit a repeat of a cycle, right? Contemplating, living, contemplating, you know, abortion or adoption again, contemplating whether I could be a mother to another child, whether I could handle mentally the load of going through another pregnancy. The first pregnancy was difficult. This pregnancy was difficult. I even ended up in a car accident, ended up on bed rest. Nothing was going right. Life was life and back. It was just not letting up on you, girl. And yes, these are the repercussions of my own personal decisions. But my God, at this point, I became hyper obsessive about so many things. I knew my friend depression before, right? I hopped on a train with the little shawty from Inside Out 2. Yeah, anxiety. There was always anxiety here and there, but the anxiety went through the roof. And they became homies. Like the anxiety and depression were robbing me of my life. I would sit here, wouldn't say nothing, face would be blank. And inside my head, I would be playing how much excitement I wanted to have because this still happened to me, even if I had to be in rooms with people. I'd be around my kid. He want to play. He want to interact. I would be around, family or friends or, the person that I was dating. I would want to be so happy. I want to be so excited. I would want to show that outwardly. I would hear music. I want to sing. I want to dance. I would see outfits. I want to get dressed. And I could play in my mind what I would want to happen in this moment. And I would sit there. I would sit there and I wouldn't do anything. After I had my second child, of course, the motherly instinct kicks in again. You want to have this baby, you want to nurture this baby, you want to protect this baby. It was already hard for the baby to get here. They were always unsure if the baby was healthy, if he was going to come in, if he was going to, be in the NICU for several months. They literally had prepared me to stay alongside the baby or in the same city as the baby, with the specialist for up to a month or over for this baby. And now, if y'all ever seen him, he run around, he just skinny. He's so advanced and in your business. Ain't nothing wrong with that child. But they were afraid, so they caused me a lot of anxiety, plus the depression, anxiety I already had, plus the shame of not being a mother, a stereotype. I could probably finesse the first time, but now I double down and made the mistake twice. So it was like, girl, did you not learn a lesson? You must want to be this. Like you're on the path and the road to just be a walking stereotype in all these ways because now you're going to start to experience the struggle of having these kids, of being a single mother of two kids and still needing to work and still need to provide for yourself and still do all these. You're finna start to feel the way, Shawty. And then it's still COVID, so you're still in the house. It's the middle of COVID. I'm in the house with a toddler that don't understand too much. An infant I'm trying to breastfeed, and I'm still trying to work from home on a computer. And I'm going through postpartum, the depression, the anxiety, and then rage showed up, y'all. I talked to one friend and I told her about the extent of my rage and how I felt the only relief that I got was one day I took that to the mattress to try to release any level of stress. She was like, friend, I think it's time to go to the doctor. think it's time for you to consider medication. That was not something I was okay with. And there's nothing wrong with medication, but I personally just am a fan of I'm strong enough to alter my behavior. I'm strong enough to have self control. I'm strong enough to help myself do these things and be self aware and grow. I'm strong, be strong. I don't need medicine to get myself together to be able to do something or just function because I can do it, right? But I couldn't do it, y'all. I could not do it. And at that point, once I started to begin to take that medicine, the medicine did its job. However, I still had a lot of subconscious anxiety because then I picked up the anxiety that I never be able to get off the medication. So when I tell y'all I had a list, anxiety did this big one on me, y'all. That was the hardest thing for me to overcome. And I still struggle with it from time to time, but I gone to therapy. I've done different forms of therapy to the point that now I have tools and I've worked with God through all these things where I've shifted my mindset on them. So now I have things that I do, methods that help me regulate myself if anxiety ever starts to bother me in any shape, form, or fashion. I've come from under a lot of the heaviness of the anxiety and experienced a lot more relaxing, a lot more stress-free time, and a lot more peace. And at first it was hard for me to accept the peace because I felt like I was bored. I felt like nothing was happening. I felt like what's going on? Because peace. It's actually peace. So be careful when you pray for things you ask for God for because it's not gonna come how you think it should, and it may feel very weird to you, and you may not be accepting of it. But to wrap up the episode, y'all, I'm just gonna go through a few of the anxieties that I had with labels, kind of where they came from, and as we continue to go through other topics, I will bring back each one of these different types of anxieties and how I began to deal with them, how they began to, flourish positively or negatively in my life, and then how God helped me work through those. One of the anxieties that I picked up was driving because I was in several car accidents. And it was to the point that I would pretty much envision myself different ways that I would die in the element that I'm literally viewing when I'm trying to drive. It was hard, and I had to go through a therapy to kind of rework my mind around being safe because my anxiety wasn't about me driving. My anxiety was about the unknown of how the other drivers controlled their vehicle because I was always hit in a way that was like I was blindsided. It was out of my control because I was hit from behind or something that wasn't my fault, but it caused a lot of anxiety for me driving. I picked up anxiety around noises. And that kind of came from, I told you guys I began to live alone. And when I began to live alone, I had some neighbors that would drink a lot and they always confuse my apartment with theirs. So they'd be trying to constantly break in. So I picked up a anxiety around if I could hear them coming, right? Every time I would hear someone pull out keys or hear someone walking up, I started to get a lot of anxiety around, oh my God, are they going to really break in this time? Because they literally were trying to break in. And it's just me and around myself. Like, I don't have protection. I don't got pepper spray. I don't got nothing. What am I going to do to defend myself or protect myself in that? Eventually, I did move, but for a while, I had to know what every noise was about, or I had to have like background noise. And I hear every little tiny little noise because if I couldn't figure out exactly what it was, my mind would subconsciously revert back to it's something that I should be afraid of. It's something that would put me in danger because at times where I didn't live alone, my partner would work late a lot. So I was used to him just coming in, at whatever time and there was no issue. But when we separated, I was so used to that I began to dream about the fact that, he'd come in and I wouldn't get out of bed or I wouldn't worry about anything because he'd just come in per usual. But when I turned around in the dream, it wasn't him. So now we'd have collided with so many anxieties, y'all. So scared. I'm like, the fences are down. You're so used to him coming that you're not even considering if someone has come in your home, got in your bed, and just need to blink. And now they basically have you and you can't run, you can't do anything. Never want to have that again. But yeah, that was difficult. And I caused a lot of anxiety. Promiscuity caused me a lot of anxiety for the situations I put myself into. Abandonment caused me a lot of anxiety because I always felt like I was left alone, that I wasn't seen, that people would leave out of my life a lot. The abandonment anxiety was very difficult for me because I always felt like I didn't belong. I always felt people were leaving me. I always felt there was no place for me. And the more I searched for a place to be seen, a place to be loved, a place to call home, a place to just feel warmed and welcome and embraced, it tends to lead me to that decision because what I needed was God, not people, not other things that can look like they would love me, pretend to love me, pretend to accept me, but it really wasn't. The last anxiety that heavily influenced me and became a space that God had to work with me through is motherhood. Like I had so much anxiety about am I a good mom? I'm coping through being a mom when that wasn't part of my original plan. I'm coping through the fact that they need me, they rely on me. I can't live for me. I can't do either. I enjoy or every decision, I would spiral so hard down to, oh, well, if I don't go to work today, then my kids won't have a home and they'll grow up homeless. And then that will then be the reason why they'll never become anything great. I would go downhill, way downhill, and not just will have one day less pay or you mean to make the day up. It was difficult for me to make any choices, any decisions, do anything for myself, buy anything for myself, get my lashes done, get my nails done, get my hair done, do anything because I had so much anxiety around motherhood and even to go further, my finances, because I was so dead set on finding financial stability and learning good practices with my money so that I could leave something for my children, so that I could have savings when I needed it. So if anything happened in the world or I was down on a hard time, my children would not have to suffer behind any of that. So I talked to y'all for a long time. But hopefully y'all ready to trust me because I was very vulnerable. These are my things that are easy for me to share, but I'm willing to share them if it's going to allow you to feel like it's okay and that I definitely understand what it's like to be in these spaces and that you can make it through them, you can grow through them. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with needing help to get through those things, with needing resources, with needing support, with needing accountability. There's absolutely nothing wrong with any of that because I did it and I still probably will continue to do it for however long I need to. And hopefully it helps someone else to understand that they're not alone in this. And if you are a millennial woman who's ever lost herself in any of these things the way that I did, leave me a comment, send me a message, join the community. Text me if you got to, because I want to be sure that you're supported because I know what it feels like to be alone, even to the point that you feel alone in a room full of people. That's not something that you can run away from or text away. There's nothing you're going to do to fill those voids, feel loved, find a parent, find something that you're going to wish away, you're going to drink away, you're going to smoke away, you're going to, So if you're anything like me and you need these things, I'm here for you, shifting your atmospheres, here for you. And I'll see you on the next episode.